Okay, the fourth one is about bad debts write-off. Again, writing off bad debts, only debts that are reasonably estimated to be irrevocable can be written off. Okay, and there's actually public rulings that deals with bad and doubtful debts. What are the circumstances? What you need to do in order to be eligible to consider to write off your debts? Of course, once you write off the debt that's bad, then it will be a deductible expense and then lower down your tax exposure. Okay, the third bullet point is basically all circumstances of the debt, including the likelihood and cost of its recovery, should be considered, can be considered and should be considered as to whether or not the bad debt is actually reasonable to be written off. Likelihood of you recovering it and the costs that you may have to incur in order to recover it are relevant considerations. Okay, of course, in order to justify a write-off, sufficient evidence of the steps and that have been taken to recover those bad debts has to be maintained by the taxpayer. Okay, those are very general principles, and let me again share with you a real life experience. Okay, this is a case study of a case where I had actually acted for a building contractor. So a building contractor was engaged by an employer to do work in a high-rise building, in a hotel in Kuala Lumpur. So as a final claim submitted by the building contractor to the employer was 4.5 million. So a final claim was filed in for 4.5. That claim was challenged by the employer. And the employer also brought a counter claim amounting about 2.8 million against the building contractor. The parties were not able to sort out their differences amicably, and the building contractor actually had already started to initiate an arbitration. Of course, in the arbitration was still at the infancy stage, where the employer then brought in a counterclaim of the 2.8. The arbitration was later withdrawn when the parties managed to reach an amicable settlement, in that the employer agreed to pay the building contractor, our client, 1.5 million ringgit. So you can see that the building contractor final claim was 4.5, but ultimately they only received 1.5. So the balance 3 million was written off by the building contractor as a bad debt. Again, in this unfortunate case, the IRB also took issue with the bad debts written off. So they increased the assessment by reversing this 3 million bad debt and went after the building contractor. So the case actually firstly went and was fully tried at the Special Commissioner's Court. So there's the first trial of first instance is called the Special Commissioners of Income Tax Court. We were then not, I was then not the lawyers for the contractor. So the contractor actually lost before the Special Commissioners. The Special Commissioners somehow agreed with the IRB that the writing off of this 3 million as bad debt is actually unreasonable on the part of the building contractor. Okay, when we were then engaged to take on the matter on the appeal to the High Court. So after the Special Commissioner's full hearing, full trial, the Special Commissioner gave an order, a judgment. So then, dissatisfied with that judgment, then we brought it up on appeal to the High Court. So that is where we argued to the High Court judge that the Special Commissioners were wrong in their findings of not allowing this 3 million bad debt write-off. At the High Court, we were successful, right, in reversing the findings of the Special Commissioners. In that we managed to persuade the High Court judge to accept that the contractor had in fact taken all reasonable steps necessary to recover the bad debts, which then entitled the contractor to write off the debts as being bad and doubtful. All right, and what are the few salient factors that the High Court took into consideration is this. Firstly, the contractor was actually very genuine in wanting to recover the debt from the employer. And this was augmented by the fact that they had actually commenced arbitration. So arbitration was actually commenced, but of course later withdrawn because of certain factors that led to them believing or deciding that a settlement will be more beneficial to them than a full-drawn arbitration. Okay, that's the first factor. Of course, the second factor is the risk of having to pay the employer the counterclaim. Because the counterclaim is in the nature of LAVs and defective works, 2.8. So that also was brought into consideration to justify the contractor's decision to accept a lower settlement sum of 1.5. Of course, other factors would be the time and resources the contractor would have to put in order to move on with the arbitration, right? This time and effort, their human resource could very well be used better used in other type of projects. So that was also being considered as relevant. And of course, also the cost of engaging lawyers and consultants, right, to fight the arbitration. And all this had in fact been saved. These costs have all been saved by the settlement reached. So all this, accepted circumstances by the judge, by the High Court judge, to justify the reasonableness of the contractor accepting a lower settlement sum and writing off the balance of the 3 million as a bad debt. Okay, so that is a real case study about bad debt.